SFAB, number 5. Here we are. We're here.
Yes, sir. Yes,
After
sir.
what, a month or two, a break? We got to be
Yes,
more
sir.
consistent with these guys. But just like the video, share it around, and I promise we are going to get on these a little bit harder. Now that it's summertime for sure, I think we can pump these out a little bit more. Um,
Yes.
but today we have talks about Computex. Also, we're having a talk about the technical recession in PC hardware, and also skyrocketing R&D costs. That probably goes in with the technical recession. So, he made some great questions for me today, and I think you guys are going to find them pretty intriguing. So, go ahead and fire away.
Of course. So, for our first topic, and for those who don't or are unaware, when I talk about technical recession, there's one thing to keep in mind is that if you've been paying attention over the last few years for product cycles, you've sort of noticed a distinct lack or pulling back from companies to try new things with hardware to go all out, especially in like the mid-range to entry level segment. The examples I gave, if you look at the PS5 and series consoles, traditionally you would notice that consoles would get cheaper as the years went by. But for some reason, our PlayStation and Xboxes haven't got cheaper to produce.
Yeah,
That
dude,
does
they
not
raised the
happen.
price.
They raised the price. And
After
that's not
what,
just
5 years, dude? They raised the
that 5
price.
years.
That's crazy.
5 years. And that's actually not just tariffs, right? They raised the price, honestly, for the PlayStation before tariffs. And one of the reasons cited was that, hey, this stuff is getting very, very hard to manufacture at cost. So the question I really want to propose is, do you really think we're in a technical recession? Do you see this continuing years on end? Because for me, I feel like that we've entered in a new age of hardware. We're going to see less bespoke machines. We're going to see less specialized things like the PlayStation, like the Xbox, and we're going to see more companies pivot to whatever they can use that can be as, I don't want to say
Huh.
open, but maybe
Yeah.
more OEM is what I should say.
I mean, it's a great thought that's based on a lot of like evidence, right? Supporting evidence. But there's one thought in the back of my mind, dude, that people are just buying this stuff. People will buy this gaming stuff with no matter the price. Look at 5090s. Think about the Nintendo Switch, the price increase on that. I guarantee it's probably sold out for pre-orders, but I guarantee day one it will be sold out and scalped.
Oh,
People,
definitely,
dude,
definitely.
okay, the average person, it may be a little bit harder for them to buy these things, but I still think they're going to make it work. And the guy that's loaded, the guy that grew up on an Xbox 360 that now has a 100K job, uh, that guy's buying multiple consoles, like for everyone he knows, for his kids maybe. And I think that when it comes to a technical recession, we may see that for lower class gamers, for maybe even middle class gamers. But I think the higher end gamers, the ones that these companies really care about, are going to prevent that from happening in the time frame it should have. If that makes sense, because like
Yeah,
think about scalping hardware. Like think about like it's only gotten worse, dude. Like all this
yeah.
stuff, dude. Where prices have got more and more egregious and uh, just out there, and it doesn't seem to be affecting the mindset of anybody. Like, but people are still buying everything. That's my thoughts initially to this. What do you think about that?
Well, for me, my counterpoint would be how many of those guys with the 100K jobs are out there to really prop up the industry like that?
Yeah,
I'm there is a substantial amount. I know for a fact it's not like a zero sum, but how many of those guys versus the people who can only choose between getting one console every console generation? And
yeah.
what I'm worried about is, like, think about it, right? And I think about things like this. We have the Steam Deck. Steam Deck is Zen 2, RDNA 2 based, chipset. And, they die shrunk it to 6 nanometer, I think a year and a half ago. Um, but Valve has put forth nothing after that, right?
Mhm.
And they haven't actually been able to bring the cost of that machine down itself. Like, that's still a pretty expensive APU to make. And it's 6 nanometer, it's several generations old. and it's right in line with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox. Same thing. Zen 2, RDNA 2 can't bring the price down. You look at what AMD's doing now with the new Ryzen AI chips. Um, I talked to one of the reps at the AMD Connect event, and they're like, "Hey, we're really trying to figure out a way to scale Strix Halo down for different market segments, but they're struggling. They're struggling. It's such a technically dense product that
Yeah.
they're having the hardest time figuring out how can we cut this down and still have it be relevant for mid-range and entry-level market segments. And this
Yeah.
goes beyond everything, right? I mean, Asus, dude, look at Asus, and this is what I should have led with. One of the products they showed us at the NDA room was the Asus T5, no, Tough T500. It's a
Laptop,
like not
desktop. Laptop
yeah,
CPU and a
basically
desktop
desktop
motherboard,
thing, right?
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I asked him. I said, "Hey, what was the design philosophy behind this?" And it was cost. It was cost.
Hmm.
We're trying to get it below $1,000, and they don't have any CPU they can go with to get it below that price.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's insane if you think about it.
It
Like they
is.
had to go,
I
they
think
had to
you're
go with a laptop CPU to get it at cost.
you're right, dude. Like you're 100% right. The low end, like budget low end's gone, dude. Budget low end is like it's not a thing.
There's no more.
Like the price
There's
of
no more.
low end is now mid range, and low end now. Let's just be real. Low end is last gen or the gen before last gen, and that's just how it is. And honestly, it's okay because we've hit kind of a stagnation, especially with GPUs, with anything below the Halo tier. Where I watched a video by Digital Foundry just yesterday. They went over the 2080 Ti. That thing's 7 years old now, and it
I saw that.
performs on the level of a 5060, which, by the way, that's what I said it would perform as in my 5060 video, where I said NVIDIA thinks you're stupid. Not pulling Moore's law is dead here or anything, but that's just what I thought. I said this thing's probably going to be around a 3070 performance level, which scaled past the CUDA cores because of the GDDR7 memory, which was my prediction. No one else was predicting that, I don't think. But yeah, that thing, 7-year-old Halo tier product, now it's performing on the low end, which you could be wrong, but it has more memory. So in a lot of cases, it performs better because of the memory. And you can buy 2080 Ti's for under like 250 now or something like that, or under 300. So yeah, I think low end is just last gen. Skip the 5060, get a 2080 Ti if you need VRAM. DLSS and the efficiency is nice for sure, but and then on the CPU side, man, CPUs have stagnated as apart from multi-core kind of a lot. If you don't count X3D, like anything from like Zen 3, Alder Lake, which both of those are dirt cheap. You can get a Ryzen 5600 off AliExpress for $70 or 12600K for about $100 of used somewhere now, which both are stellar CPUs, especially the 12600K. So, I mean, that's kind of like the low end now. I build PCs. I flip PCs all the time. And I can tell you, I build $600 PCs that are very capable all the time now. So there is a low end. It's just not current gen anymore. And I feel for AIBs like Asus because they can't really put together a last gen product and expect to charge like $1,000. Like people aren't gonna want to. Are you muted? I'm sorry. I thought you said something.
No.
Okay.
No,
I think you just cut out. But yeah, like even people come to me when I sell stuff. I those $600 builds I might sell for $800. If I build a $500 build, I try to sell it for $650 or $700. Some people will come to me and say, "Well, I don't think it's worth that," and I'm just like, "Well, go build one yourself." And they don't know about AliExpress. They don't know about all the best deals. So when they build one, it'll probably be more than what I charge anyways. So yeah. As far as like the economics and what would you say what was the topic? Like the collapse of budget recession, of budget hardware. I agree, man. Like you're just having to buy last gen, which the thing is last gen is totally capable. So that's kind of the safety net we have is there's a lot of capable hardware out there that's doing well. And another thing I wanted to talk about, which this is a little off topic, but I thought about this is as we get smaller and smaller in nanometers, the durability of this silicon is going to decrease, which people don't realize that. Like the smaller these transistors are, the smaller these gates are, the more likely they are to leak. And that means you can't use as high as voltage as you did before. And I've been seeing this, like, Intel degradation, AMD chips are having issues now. The lower we get in nanometers, guys, you can't use this high voltage. And CPUs use a much higher voltage than GPUs. So CPUs are more likely for this problem to happen first. But, if you're pumping 1.4, 1.5 watts through a CPU and we get to 0.8 nanometers, it's probably going to degrade faster than a 10 nanometer chip would. Like it's not going to last you forever. CPUs historically would last forever. I'm not sure if that's the case anymore going forward. What do you think?
I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that I didn't think about, but is very.
That's why it's happening
true.
at CPUs. Like you don't see GPUs just blowing up, apart from the 12-volt high power, but CPUs are blowing up now. And what popped into my mind is like, dude, the voltage is too high on CPUs. These transistors are getting too small. I don't know.
That's true. It's the law of energy conservation. You got these tiny little gates you're pushing all the energy through.
Yeah.
Something's got to
degradation, man.
That's a good point. And then again, that kind of goes back to what we're talking about, the technical recession. It's like, okay, if you have to reserve all that R&D for the top Halo product to make sure it doesn't combust. We're talking 2 nanometer. You got Lisa Su with TSMC signing autographs, right? You're not going to get those kind of products in the mid-range to lower end if it takes that much R&D to keep them, stable and from degrading. It all goes back. So again, I would expect to see more like last gen Zen 5 filling in the mid stack for Zen 6 and probably Zen 4. You have that for the low end. And I think it just kind of accents your point, like, man, if these products are going to get more technical to create, it's going to take more R&D, more resources. I think we can expect to see less of them, or rather, I should say, less of them through the portfolio stack.
I mean, prospectively, like looking forward, I think with us entering into the chiplet and tile era with CPUs and GPUs will come eventually. I just don't know when NVIDIA is going to do that. I could definitely see like how AMD's done in the past, just NVIDIA, AMD, Intel reusing these tiles for new products. It's like, oh, Nova Lake just came out. We're reusing the IO tile. Or AMD launches a new product and like we're reusing the CCD tile. We have a new IO tile, or like we're having all these chiplets that they can just reuse from different nodes. Like, oh, we're still on 5 nanometer on this tile. On this other tile, we're on 1 nanometer, and it's like, yeah, they're going to be doing whatever they can to limit the cost of these products. And there might be a new product that's RTX 7000 series, but it's based on 2 or 3 old generation node, while the highest end is based on the newest node. Like I see that kind of patterns going forward, especially with CPUs, I think more than GPUs, but I could definitely see that. We're using old cores and whatnot.
I could too. I mean, it's not a bad strategy. Just I'm more, like I said, consumer prices is my focus as it is yours, I would assume. So, like, I mean, I want to see these products, but I don't want them to be unaffordable or unobtainable. Like, in Strix Halo is the one that really bothers me because I say this a lot and people think I'm crazy, but that is a product that should be in the mid-range to entry level. Strix Halo, like where it's actually needed, is for people who can't afford GPUs on desktop or people who can only afford one laptop, right? I think that should be a product that's in design that are $1,200 and below. But it'll never get there because of how how expensive it was to create.
Yeah.
It's just a catch to some of these products, man. It's crazy.
I mean, that's something to say. Like, Strix Halo is a perfect example. It's an APU, right? APUs are for people that can't afford a GPU or need GPU level power, GPU level compute on the go and mobile, lower power consumption. So it should be cheaper. I mean, what is it costing? Like $2,000 for Strix Halo products, or $3,000? I don't know.
Yeah, you would be lucky to find one for $2,000.
Oh my gosh.
When I
Dude,
went
why? Like
to,
you could buy a 40, 70, 50, 70 laptop for that. It's got way.
and
Oh wait, it's on the level of a 4070 mobile though, which is a 4060 desktop, but that's pretty good, man. And I mean, one thing I asked you in the Discord, I don't know if you remember, but DDR6, I was looking at the JEDEC speeds for that. And DDR6 may get up to 12,000 or even 14,000, like at the end of its lifespan, maybe higher. Mega transfers a second. And with that level of bandwidth, what are you thinking? You know, they can make a Strix Halo 2, you know, whatever it's called, with 80 compute units. So double the compute units. Strix Halo is a little bit memory bottlenecked. I told people when I made my original Strix Halo video, I said this thing will be memory bottlenecked because it has, you know, same amount of compute units as a 5700 XT, but like half the bandwidth. And, you know, it's got newer RDNA cores. I'm like, it's going to be memory bottlenecked. And people are saying like, bro, AMD wouldn't make a product that's memory bottlenecked. I'm like, it will be. And tests have shown that it is, right?
it's not even a little memory ball. It's a lot of memory ball. And it's funny. I have a story for you too when you're done.
Yeah, I mean, it has 256 gigabytes of memory bandwidth. That's not enough for 40 RDNA 3 compute units. It's not.
No.
Especially like for AI workloads. But so imagine us let's just say we doubled that memory bandwidth. How crazy would that be? Strix Halo 2, 80 compute units, just 512 gigs memory bandwidth.
That would be the chip to end all chips in, I keep saying mid-range, but that's where it will be great at. I mean, you can imagine having a laptop that's in like a 1-inch chassis that has a gaming performance that runs circle around some discrete cards, dude, while still getting like 5 to 6 hours of battery life. Well, that's a crazy product.
Honestly, dude, for that, I wouldn't even consider it gaming anymore. I think that's just content creation AI work. If you're putting like, just give us 128 gigs of unified memory on that, and then honestly, at that point, just get a low power APU. Like, you don't need 80 compute units for an APU to game. I don't think.
No.
Mobile. I think 20 to 40 is enough. Compute units.
I think.
I mean, I've been rocking Lunar Lake for a while. I got to say I love it. It's got 8 XE cores, which is equal to around 12 to 16 compute units, depending on the circumstances. Because it beats the Extreme. I think that one has 12. In some cases, it beats the Z1 Extreme. In some cases, in some cases it loses. So, and honestly, it's enough, dude. And it only uses 17 watts on battery, and then 37 when you're plugged in. And honestly, it's enough. Like, I can play Xbox 360. It has 4 teraflops, if you're wondering. And I can play Xbox 360 games at 60 FPS, which is my monitor's refresh rate. And I was making a video. I played Doom, The Dark Ages, on that APU. And in some scenes, I was getting 60 FPS. And that game uses ray tracing. Other scenes, I was getting 30 FPS. But I was using XeSS Ultra Performance in low settings. But hey, it has ray tracing. It didn't look half bad. I was surprised. So where were we? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, APU performance. I'm not worried about the future of that. I think that we're well on our way to have enough with APU performance mobile, and we just need to focus on power efficiency. And Lunar Lake nails that, man. 17 watts mobile, like, it's great. I can game for multiple hours, edit a whole video on battery. I did it. My video that I just made where I was out in the boonies. I edited that on my laptop. It was great.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I saw the video too.
But actually, yesterday, I was downloading Doom on my laptop, and it has a 4 terabyte 990 Pro. I was downloading at the speed of light because I have Wi-Fi 7 and 2.5 gig fiber, and that drive blew up. It just melted, I guess, or it just stopped working. I posted in the Discord. I'm like, what? What happened? It just stopped working, and I RMA'd it. I sent it to Samsung today. I dropped it off at UPS, so they're getting me a new one, but that's my second RMA. I just RMA'd my 4080. Just crazy. Yeah. I keep on breaking stuff, even though before that I never broke anything, except I did blow up a PSU once. I switched it to
That's
EU
crazy.
mode to like different voltage, and I blew up the PSU and a motherboard once with my friend Sawyer when we were building a PC. It was funny.
Okay, that is pretty funny.
But yeah, where were
Oh
we?
my god.
APUs. Sorry.
Yeah, APUs. No, I was saying at Computex actually, like I said, AMD had this Connect event for press to come to, and it had all the design wins there. I'm talking everything was there, dude.
Yeah.
Strix Halo, Strix Point, you name it, it was there. 9060 XT, whatever. So for the Strix Halo specifically, I asked, and I was like, hey, this APU, it only supports it's like 7,500 megatransfers a second, like RAM speed. And I was like, okay, well, we have LP cam, so why can't an LP cam is the same speed? So I said, okay, well,
Bro.
why can't we use LP cam
Dude.
with this design?
Let's get a close
So
up.
we can have computer memory.
Let's get a close up of that. If you guys don't know, Crucial, it's Crucial, right?
Yeah, it's
Sent
crucial.
this man the Silicon Fox LP cam memory. He's probably one of the very few in the world that has a kit. He got two kits. He
Yeah.
got a 65 or 64 gigabyte kit and a 32 gigabyte kit at 7,500 megatransfers. Absolutely insane. That is awesome.
They didn't. Yes, it's nice, very nice, man. Just holding it feels crazy. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness,
Well,
I have the technology.
okay, yeah. So AMD needs to support faster memory speeds. Hopefully, that's coming with Zen 6. They're getting a new I/O tile, which let's see if that happens because the I/O tile in Zen 5 is kind of garbage. It's old. They reused it from Zen 4. What I mean, it can do higher speed RAM if you like downclock the Infinity Fabric, and that's useless, right? Like you need to run it in Gear 1 or 2 or whatever. It's not called that for AMD, but whatever it's called, a ratio. It's a rate. You need to run it in 2-to-1 ratio, not like 4-to-1 or anything, because then you just lower your overall bandwidth anyways. But so that may happen with Zen 6. Another thing I saw is AIBs like Gigabyte and we had boards with LP cam memory on them at Computex. You were there. Did you see those?
Yes. Yes, I did. I saw Gigabytes. I actually went and had a press briefing with Kingston.
Oh, that's cool.
Bef- Not to get misconstrued, but actually they didn't. This crazy part. So nobody had any, from what I could tell, nobody had any actual LP cam designs. They had the new. It was cam, but it's a new slim design. It's gonna get crazy, dude. So you have LP cam now
for laptops.
Then you have regular size cam. Then there's a slim like version of cam, which is almost the same size as LP cam. It's crazy. Anyways, that was a slim version everybody was showing off. And I spoke to Kingston because they were the ones doing all the headlining. Crazy tech. They're trying to get to 10,000 megatransfers per second by Q4, but the engineer, he's an engineer. I spoke to him offline. He wasn't that confident about it. He was like, we're still running into a lot of stability issues. Blue screen, systems crashing, not posting, memory training issues. So
that's weird, dude. Because I think I've been misled about like LP cam or cam memory. Because I read an article that was basically saying that it offers no performance gain over regular DIMMs, like cam memory. It doesn't offer any. That's what I read. It said, yeah, on paper, you think it would, like better signal integrity and all that, but in practice, it actually doesn't offer any better speeds or latency, is what the article was saying. And I'm like, what? So there's no point. Now, it did say that it offers better power efficiency or something. Like power efficiency was better. And cooling might be better because the orientation, like you could put a heat sink on it, like right by the CPU. But it was saying that latency and mega transfers wouldn't benefit. They weren't seeing any benefit really.
I don't know what like test platform they use, but we got one. This is very new technology. Like, there's no consumer boards that have it. If you want to test LP cam, there's only one laptop from Lenovo. It's a workstation laptop. Only one that has it, and it's very hard and rare to get. So it's very difficult to even do this kind of in-depth testing to begin with. But from what I've seen at Computex and just asking around, Like as far as like latency and things like that, that's not just hype. Like there will be significant benefits
Okay.
to data access, latency, and it's just physics, right? If you look at a SODIMM, or sorry, not SODIMM, if you look at a regular memory stick
It's
or
just
memory
a
DIMM,
UDIM.
UDIMM, yeah, thank you. You look
Yeah.
at a regular UDIMM compared to a platform like this. I mean, less traces, a shorter access.
And
You're
those are
gonna have
pins.
faster.
Like those are like CPU. Look, show the camera. Like as far as I understand it, those are like CPU pins that you put it on the motherboard.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
so on the downside, another reason you could brick your motherboard, bend one of those LP cam pins, but
Yeah,
it is
they're pretty.
replaceable that way though. So
Yeah, for the I'll say so on the new revision. What they've done is on the motherboard, they've had like the contact pins, and for the actual RAM itself, it's pretty smooth and flat in the back.
yeah,
So it's pretty much like rubbing your finger across a piece of sheet metal or something. So as far as breaking the actual memory modules, I don't think people will be doing
no,
that.
not the memory modules. I'm saying bricking your motherboard by bending
Oh,
the
the
pin.
motherboard.
That's what. Yeah,
Yeah,
the modules
yeah.
look fine. Yeah. Yeah. So I was really surprised to hear that. I really want us to switch over to that because
I
if you can use it in your desktop and then switch it over to your laptop and it's lower latency, higher bandwidth, let's do it. Leave behind UDIM. Although I'm kind of impartial now because I just dropped. Hopefully my wife's not listening. Hopefully, 300 on a cudimm kit, 8200 CL42. Now this thing overclocks to 9000 officially in the review. It is a Team Group Extreme kit. It's cudimm. I bought an Ultra 7 265K CPU. I have it in my test bench in my garage, and I've been testing it out. Z890 Strix Gaming A. So I'm totally ready for this thing. Just get it to 9,000 megatransfers a second. I overclocked the fabric. I overclocked the die to die, and I'm getting good results so far. I haven't put a GPU in, but I've been testing latency and all that. I got the latency to 7 nanoseconds at like 120 gigabytes a second bandwidth, or 110.
Hey, it's
so
pretty good.
yeah, I got the RAM that one of my supporters sent me to 8,000 megatransfers a second, CL36. So, and that was a 7600 kit. I just overclocked it and I got it to 8,000. So we already have a kit at 8,000. I want to get a kit to 9,000. And I want to test that against my 13700K. You know, a chiplet CPU compared to a single monolithic 13700K. See the difference there. But yeah, if we could get CAM memory and get that at like 10,000, that'd be awesome. Now, Arrow Lake's memory controller maxes out Gear 2 around 9,000. So we'd have to also get a new CPU architecture to go along with that faster memory. Because you don't want to run it above Gear 2, because at that point you lower your overall ring bandwidth or whatever. I'm sure I'm getting into memory overclocking. I'm getting there.
It's all good.
My OLED just
we've
dimmed.
got time.
Sorry, what did you say?
We've got time. No, I'm saying we've got time because like this technology has been very slow for the industry to adopt. And part of, like I said, I'm working on a larger expose about this. That's why I got sent the memory. But from what I can tell, if we're just being truthful, a lot of it's cost. A lot of these companies, like, they have so much tooling, legacy work done for just regular memory ranks and SODIMM. They do not want to switch to LP Cam. They do not want to pay for the training, pay for the new materials.
Yeah.
They want to pay for the new memory. Like it's just money they don't want to spend.
I mean,
And
if
that's
it makes
kinda
sense, like mid refresh, maybe not. Maybe DDR6. Just say, you know what? Let's go ahead and switch to whatever it's called, Camm2, exclusively for DDR6. That's just how we're doing it. No more UDIMs, you know. For mid-cycle, I could see that, but you're gonna have to make new machinery for DDR6 anyways, I'm assuming. So why not just do it then?
Yeah, and a lot of it, or part of it too. In my video, I'm kind of focusing on like the smaller ODMs because usually you'll notice that you'll see like the Chinese mini PC vendors, they adopt technology very, very quickly, right?
Okay.
Sometimes they'll be the first ones to have the latest chipsets. You're like, How did they get the new AMD Ryzen chip? Anyways, they're not touching this stuff. Reason
Really?
is being is like, well, yeah, because from the ones I talked to at Computex and just offline, they don't want to spend the money to like go back through all their EDA software to like actually design the boards,
Hmm.
to train people like on the industrial side. It's money, you know. And if you look, a lot of them they have a lot of cookie cutter designs,
Yeah.
a lot of just simple boxes, easy to access, easy to build on an assembly line. This complicates things as far as like new board layouts and stuff like that. And I think a lot of companies again are just allergic to spending that money right now.
Yeah.
They
I
don't see a
mean,
need for it.
I see that, but overall, I think it's simpler. Like, I think that's more cost uh, effective than like UDIMs. Like, let's say that versus two or four UDIMs. Like, look at it; it's small, right? You just put a little chip on there. Now they do have to be higher density chips, I'm guessing, because there's not as much surface area as like a whole
Right.
stick. And that might be more
And
expensive, but
and there's fewer suppliers. You only have Micron, Kioxia, and Samsung. Um,
so SK Hynix
so
doesn't do it. That's the only one that's out, right? There's only a few memory
yeah,
manufacturers.
I haven't seen one from SK Hynix, but
There's
even though there's only a few
Micron, Samsung, and SK Hynix, and I guess, or is Kioxia SK
Kioxia.
Hynix?
Oh
Because there's
yeah,
only like three or four memory manufacturers in the world, as far as I know,
right.
or the high
No,
end
you're right.
ones.
But then you got to think. But then you got to think about like as far as like the lower end stuff, DDR4, DDR5, generic OEM, ODM stuff. You can get that for pennies on the dollar.
I
Like
heard that they're
they
actually discontinuing DDR4 right now.
Samsung is, yes.
They're like, well, I still buy it all the time for my builds. DDR4 is fine, so it's cheap.
Yeah, I got some DDR4 like SODIMs for a little mini PC not too long ago. Like you said, dirt cheap.
Bro, also another thing is like I'm surprised there's no like motherboards on AliExpress yet. They don't support LP cam. Like
I look every day.
I'm
I
like, bro,
look
like
every.
who's gonna do it? Like it's time. It's time, dude.
I
Just throw
look.
one in there. You've done all kind of abominations before. You
I
can do
look
it.
every day. I
Yeah.
look every single day, never see it. In fact, I'm gonna be on. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I was looking in software and KiCad. I was gonna try to see if I could just design one myself and send it to a company to see if they'll make a sample.
A board?
Um, yeah, so
That's
you can.
crazy.
So yeah, for each, it's less crazy than it sounds. So there's like some templates you can find, and there's a lot of generic templates for these mini PCs out there with like the SODIMM slots where the CPU would go. But as far as like actually designing like the LP cam housing and stuff like that, the what's what I'm looking for? The documentation is out there. Like you can get it, like get the models, but it's a lot of extra legwork, right? And I
Gotcha.
think that for some of these companies, they just don't see it worth it. It's like, okay, I can spend 5 minutes using the pick and place machine to put down soldered RAM, or I could use older like SODIMM slots, or I could spend the extra money, however much it costs to like figure out, okay, how do we redesign the board to support this new technology? And I think whoever does it first, right, once they do that and get it to market, then everyone else is going to follow after they just copy the design. That's
Yeah.
probably what's going to
I
happen.
mean, I think we can agree it's gonna happen. There's gonna be LP cam memory and there's gonna be solder memory, and that's it. There's not gonna be the SODIMM anymore. It's
No,
just
yeah. So
garbage. It's garbage. I was looking at DDR5 SODIMMs not too long ago. The fastest speed I saw was like 5600. I'm like, this is
yeah, it is.
garbage. It's
And,
horrible.
and you can't really
Imagine
like
running an APU with that.
yeah, I've tried. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not,
Not good.
not good.
Yeah, the Lunar Lake laptop I have, it runs at 8533, 32 gigabytes at that speed. In Gear 2, I checked on CPU-Z. So yeah, it's I think it's 130 something gigabytes of memory bandwidth a second. So into a low-end graphics card territory there. Like generations old low end, but like old 50 class. But yeah, pretty cool talk there on RAM. I think we can go on to our next category if you're cool. with
Of
that.
course, yes. Let us not lollygag.
Dilly dally on. Um, one of the other things you said was the Computex presence of AMD versus Intel versus Nvidia. You said AMD had a surprisingly deep Computex showing. Not only their keynote, but their showroom was packed with OEM wins and Ryzen AI showcases. Well, that's cool. I didn't hear that a lot from the videos I've seen, but you were there, so you can
Yeah,
definitely
I got a
attest. Mm-hmm.
ton of B-roll from there.
Good. Yeah, you can use that for just use that for like the next year and then go back and get some more. Uh, and then you're saying, meanwhile, Intel stuck to a few floor demos. I was actually watching a lot of their newsroom stuff. They had some stuff. And NVIDIA kind of skipped the show floor altogether and just favored their GTC AI conference. What does this say about each company and its future? And is AMD quietly dominating the traditional PC space while NVIDIA doubles down on AI? I want to answer that question right now. NVIDIA is all in AI.
We know.
Pretty much NVIDIA
We
and
know.
AI are synonymous. I wouldn't be surprised if they changed their ticker in the stock market to AI instead of NVDA. I would not be surprised at all. They're just the AI company.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, dude.
yeah, they don't care about consumers at all anymore. It is obvious, uh, even with their drivers, dude. Like, there's recent drivers, okay. The few ones before that were so bad. I'm pretty sure they bricked my graphics card. I'm not kidding, dude. It was bad. I was black screening, and yeah, Zotac said, yep, GPU's destroyed. Guys, check out my channel for the RMA process. I will post a video about how that all went, how you do an RMA for your graphics card, and just check my channel out for that. It will be coming out soon because it was a lot simpler than I thought it'd be, but also it was like less formal. I thought I was gonna have to do a ton of paperwork, and I didn't really have to.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, answer that question. Yes, Nvidia's all in AI now. AMD with the design wins in a consumer focus. I'm not sure. What do you think about that?
Personally, like I said, and this is interesting for me. So I was at CES,
Yeah,
and a lot of these products I saw kind of there, but there was a larger focus at Computex and CES. So in January, when we went to the AMD suite, it was, you had the ROG Z Float 13. That was a headliner. It was Strix Halo. It was new. It was just that. They had, I think, no, they had two desktop systems up, and then there were like five laptops, and they had a shelf of like older GPUs, like RDNA 3, and then what they had like the reference models of the new ones, but not plugged in, and that was it. That was all you could see. It was a really short, small room. You walked around, you were done. Computex, that suite was packed. They barely had enough room for everything. I'm talking there's like two major laptops from every major OEM, Asus, Dell, HP, in the entire stack, from the lowest end Zen 5 chip to Strix Halo. It was all there in all kinds of different
yeah.
configurations. The
Well,
gaming
dude,
handhelds were there.
I mean the
Threadripper
the
was
laptop
crazy.
market share is waiting for AMD. It is hungry for AMD. Like
Yes, it is.
they could Intel's dominating Mac laptop market share right now only because they have the supply. Like they have the volume. People want
Right.
AMD chips, they just can't get them right, as far as I understand it.
No, you're correct. And that's the 100% correct assessment. And they're like, from what I could tell, look like they're pushing, man. Like when I say like everybody was there, they were all there, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like two models, like there. And I thought that was crazy. At CES, you had like one laptop to represent three or four different vendors, but there, each main player had two or three of their own models for you to play around with, different configurations, all kinds of just great user choice. It was lovely to see. I was super happy about the handhelds too. They had like five handhelds lined up. Lenovo, the Chinese mini PC vendors, Steam Deck, whatever you could think was there. And it was really just a showcase to the press to say, hey, look, we are here. We're not going anywhere. And like, I really think that for the next few quarters, it's just going to be a push to take client. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it's going to be. Like they're coming like guns blazing, and they're gonna try to dominate as many market segments as they can. I mean, they even had like their MI 300 and Instinct products out, and that was really cool to see in person too. Like it was in this gigantic glass case, and it was surrounded by the AMD personnel. Like they would take it out, gigantic chip. It was so cool to see in person. It was so
Yeah.
cool.
I
But
don't know
no,
what to
they
think
like
about their AI chips because like I see just seeing on X like some people are like they can't run anything because everything's built around CUDA. Like not the chip's fault, but
yeah,
like as far
that's
as AI stuff goes, hopefully we get more development with things other than CUDA. Hope I think we are, but
man, it was there was some talk about Rockham there at the
yeah.
conference. And some developers, they're getting a little excited. Anything to, kind of stem the tide between them and Nvidia, because it was
Mm.
crazy. I'm saying that GTC conference with Nvidia, like it was an AI cult. Watching it on stream was nothing like being there in person. The vibe is completely different, and
I
that's
didn't
what
even
I was
watch
learning.
it, bro. I didn't watch it. I just saw
You
the
didn't,
clips of
you didn't miss
him saying 5060. Like
it.
we
I
we
wish.
we render one frame and we output 9 from AI. That's what I saw. And I was like,
Did you
okay.
see that?
I
Oh,
mean,
did you
I
see the
think people
reviews?
know what they're getting when they buy a 50 or a 60 class product now. A lot of people are hating on the 5060, like 8 gigs of VRAM. Let's be real. If you're just playing esports, 8 gigs is enough. And 5060 is 2080 Ti performance, so it's pretty good performance. And for $300, if it can actually sell for that in this market, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. That's my take. Now, if you want to play for more than a couple of years in AAA games, you're GG, bro. It's obsolete for AAA games right now. But it's $300. In this market, $300 is like $150, and you get what you get. You get what you pay for. 70 class card 600, 650 now. So
So, all right, this is my question to you. And like I said, I had this, it was a very eerily similar conversation to the last person I spoke with. Okay, so they said something along the same lines as you. And I said, okay, do we really think people are going out here in droves to pay $300 for just an esports card?
no,
Just a CS2, Dota, League of Legends card? We really think people are going
the
out here
question
paying?
wasn't whether people were coming it through in droves. The question was whether it was good for the money or not. And depending what you're doing, it can be good for the money.
Okay,
I may get
people,
flack for that, but
they,
the performance is there. The VRAM isn't, and as long as you don't exceed that VRAM buffer, it's good. And there's
$300
plenty of
piece.
applications that do not come anywhere close to that. So, like, the majority of the top games on Steam are very old and they don't use more than 8 gigs at 1080p. And if you just play those games,
No.
which I know plenty of people that only play those kind of games, you
Are they
can.
buying new cars to play those games though? Are they
Yes,
going
that's the
out
problem.
and
If
buying?
you're upgrading, now let's say you had like a 1650, a 1660 Ti, it could be a decent upgrade. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'm assuming that's 250 or 200% upgrade, increase in performance at least. And with DLSS, that's probably close to 350. So 3.5 times performance, $300. Also, you don't have to upgrade your PSU or your CPU probably. So it in this market, it's acceptable, I guess. But like someone like me, like I don't know if you saw my A770 video. I would never
I
buy
did.
it. I'm not going back to low end, bro. I have needs, woman. I have needs for a high end
Yes,
build. I'm an 80 class buyer now, or 90 class enjoyer one day when I have
yeah.
more money. Um, I like the finer things. But I know plenty of people that are rocking 1660 class cards now, and they're doing just fine playing those older games. So I think the us tech tubers and people in the tech sphere just think, oh, it's garbage. But we're kind of out of touch with the average PC gamer. I really do think we are, because as long as the game runs for some of these people, they're totally chill with it. And with 8 gigs, it might not run actually, but these people aren't buying the greatest and best $70, $80 titles because they just paid $300 for a GPU. They don't have the money, right? Um,
Yeah,
that's kind of what I think.
and there's an interesting point to that, right? And that's something I mentioned to him. I was like, yes, those people are not going out buying these new games. But you know what you get when you buy a pre-built with the 5060,
The
or you
pre-builts,
buy
the pre-builts are the problem. That's the problem because they're like $1,200. Like, nah, dude, nah,
or
that ain't it.
you get a gaming laptop with a low-end GPU. You know what you get now? You get 3 months of Game Pass. And guess what Game Pass has that everybody's talking about?
They're not
All these games.
unoptimized titles.
Yeah, no, like I said, and like I've talked to, like this is something that kind of opened my eyes, right? Talking to someone who went out, got paid taxes, whatever, got himself a pre-built, like a 4060 pre-built or something like that, and came with 3 months of Game Pass. Oh wow, it's got Doom, Indiana Jones. I've heard people talk about these games. Let me play these games. Oh, awful experience. What the heck happened? I just spent $1,100 on this computer.
Yeah,
Why can't I play this game? And that's
that's where.
personally, I think that's where a lot of these 8 gig cards actually go. I don't think people like in the DIY market really buy them in droves. I think most of them go to system integrators and
You're right.
pre-builds.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that is the problem, dude, with the pre-builts because these people don't know hardware and it's obsolete. It's DOA as you buy it, and it's like $1,200, so it kind of stinks. But the thing is, there's pre-builts now that have like RX 6500 XTs. I've showed them in a video. Like it was like 750 for like that 4 gig GPU with no media encoders, and that's just how pre-builts are, bro. They make their money off big margin people not knowing what they're buying, and it's sad, but it's true. And the 60 class, man, I wouldn't be surprised if the 6060 is 8 gigs still. I don't think Nvidia cares at all, man.
No,
But
they should they should just get out of like. Personally, I forgot what content creator it was. I think it actually might have been Wendell recently, who was like, Nvidia should just, if they're not making like good money down there, they should just get out of the low end segment, make the Halo products, let another company come and just fill in that segment. Let Nvidia just be high end, AMD, push mid range. Hey, Intel, you can fill in and make all the low end GPUs, right? Because I think we could get better
I think
innovation that way.
I think Nvidia
Because
likes doing it because they get their
they don't like.
laptop chips from. No, I think they like the low end because they get their laptop chips. It gets people into their brand. Like my first ever graphics card was a GTX 1650. Absolute dookie graphics card, so bad. So bad. 4 gigs of VRAM. Not even 1,000 CUDA cores. I think it had like 860 CUDA cores, not 890, something like that. So
I didn't realize that cut
really
down.
bad. And that was before they double pumped CUDA cores. So in modern day CUDA cores, it's half that. Yeah, and I got into it, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna buy a new GPU. So I bought a 1080 Ti, then I bought a 3060 Ti, then I bought a 3090. Now I have a 4080. So Nvidia got me right where they want me, and I started off small. I started with their drug, and now they gave me herpes, like in one of my one video. That's what they did, dude. You'd have to be there to get that reference, but
yeah, they have seen the videos. Funny video too.
Basically, yeah, they got me on this sickness of high end GPU elitism, and you start at the low end. So yeah, they have to keep the low end, man. They can't leave that. But they don't have to be competitive there. That's for sure.
That's a good point. Yeah. You would think they were tired of it. Like I said, the way Jensen was holding the 5060, he couldn't wait to put it down. He came out on stage. This was him. Like, we love GeForce. GeForce brought us into the age of AI. GeForce is great. This is our 5060. Look at the scene it's rendering. Okay, here, Sasha. Here you go. It was he couldn't wait to put that card down. Oh my god, man.
Well, I wonder. I think that at heart, like originally, that man was a gamer. He wanted to revolutionize graphics as we know it. But I think recently, like the money has changed him, and there's probably all kinds of people down his throat telling him to push AI. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just not priority.
Honestly, I think, like, call me naive, but I think he 100% 100% believes in the AI vision. Like, I was watching him on stage at GTC, and yes, he's got good like showmanship, but no, Like I can see it in this man's eyes. He really believes in everything he's talking about, like the AI
I
factories.
think he's a
It's just
hardware enthusiast, man. From what I've
like
seen, every time he talks, he's like, yeah, I can't wait to show you guys what we got going here.
like he's all in.
Yeah,
With
for
AI
sure.
factory, everyone's gonna have an AI factory. So he said, yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah, it was just as cringy as people said it was. It was interesting. It was a good experience though. Not gonna lie, boring a
Yeah.
little bit, but it was nice to see that in person.
Yeah, bro. I'll have to go with you next year to Taipei, Taiwan.
Oh, we got to do
As
it.
long as it's not
Gotta do
invaded. Oh, too soon? Too soon? I shouldn't have said that. I'm invested in Intel for that reason, though. I don't know if you saw that video. I invested in Intel.
Yeah, I did.
I bought the dip. I'm in at 1990, which I think it dipped below that today, but we're good, dude. I bought the dip. The next thing coming up, next topic, Intel came out with the b60 Pro graphics card. I don't want to toot my own horn. Oh, I might have just unplugged my mic. I don't think so. I don't want to toot my own horn, but in my video with the thumbnail Beast Mage a long time ago, I said this 24 gigabyte GPU leaked out, and I said, boys, I think this is a B580. I think it's a B580 with just double the VRAM, same chip, everything like that. Well, lo and behold, that's exactly what it is. It's just a B580 with 24 gigs of VRAM. And then I didn't see this coming at all until like the day before, but they also made a 48 gig version that is a B580 die with another B580 die. Just monstrosity like the GTX 690, just dual GPU design. PCIe 5.0 times 16. Each GPU gets 8 lanes. Monstrosity. So Intel with a 48 gigabyte VRAM GPU, and then AMD with a 9070 XT on steroids with 32 gigs of memory Pro card. I don't know if this was revealed at Computex. I saw a leak of this. I don't know. It's fuzzy in my mind, but I think this is coming.
It's coming. It was not like revealed at Computex, but all the press, well, all the important press, got to go into another private suite with AMD to talk about it.
Okay,
so it was something that we knew, right? That's why it leaked out so soon. But
so
yeah,
good.
it wasn't like they didn't announce it.
AMD good. Just work on those drivers a little bit. I've seen performance issues with the 9070 XT and like editing software. So make sure that's good before you release this thing, please. As far as like the encoders with the Alchemist and BattleMatch GPUs, I tested them and they're really good. They were, I think I showed it off in one of my videos. If not, my A770 when exporting a video was only like 7% slower than my 4080. And it edited the same. It felt the exact same. So I was really surprised with that. So 48 gigabyte GPU for content creators and is going to be insane. Absolutely insane. But I think this is more geared towards AI professionals for people doing local models.
It's a GPU for like inference training, things like that.
You know.
But again, like I said, like I don't think personally for Intel's like pro drivers, I don't think it's going to be walled off that much to where it's like, oh, like in NVIDIA, a GeForce versus a Quadro card, right? There's a gulf between them. For Intel's line, I don't think it's going to be that big a gulf, man. Like I said, I think it's just pretty much going to be the gaming card.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you can download their pro drivers onto a regular card. Like it's on their website. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can just download pro drivers. I don't know how well it would work on a card it's not intended for. I haven't tried it, but it's there. Every time I download new drivers, it's right there. Yeah, but pretty cool stuff. It looks like AMD and Intel are coming at NVIDIA hard and coming with a stance on VRAM, saying like, hey, we're going to give it to these people at a manageable, decent price. So, putting pressure on them there. I guess that's not new with AMD. They've always kind of gave us a little bit more VRAM, but it's cool to see Intel doing that as well. What else did I have?
It's a good idea.
We already talked about Camm2 and like the fast memory. The last thing I wanted to talk about is Intel cooked Nova Lake on a new socket. We just had Arrow Lake, one and done. Intel, how could you? What do you think? It says there's some refresh of Arrow Lake that's coming out. Maybe just a better NPU. Wow. Geez, I hate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about this new socket already?
Um,
In one of our
I
SFABs a few months ago, we hypothesized that Nova Lake would be on the same socket as Arrow Lake, and that just seems to not be the case anymore. Is this DOA? Is Intel DOA now?
this I'll be honest with you, man. Like, if you're buying new Intel platforms, it's like, what are you doing? Like,
That's
because
me.
I,
That's me. Oh
oh
no.
man, but it's because like, come on, where's the? We can't get two generations. We can't get two
Yeah,
generations.
that's
We get one now.
that's
We
cheeks,
get
bro.
one.
That's cheeks. It's
Like, I
cheeks,
mean,
man.
people complained about Alder Lake to 14th gen.
That
You
was a
know,
good jump. If you actually tried Alder Lake and you maxed out Raptor Lake, 12900K to 14900K, it's a big jump actually. You tune that.
I didn't complain. I went from 12700K to
Yeah,
14700K.
Giga Chad, bro.
Same
Giga
board.
Chad.
Same board. So I feel like I've got my money's worth out of the platform,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I think that's the bare minimum they can do. But like I feel like this is a symptom of a larger problem with Intel. They've got a cash flow issue right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just everything's too expensive. They canceled Lunar Lake. Like they've said it multiple times now. This was a one-off design.
Yeah,
We're not
and
doing
it's
this anymore.
the best thing they've done for mobile in a decade or two. It's the best
That's what I
thing. It's
said.
so good. And
It is
well,
so
Panther Lake, they're saying, well, with Intel 18A, this thing's got Lunar Lake efficiency with Arrow Lake performance. And I look at the TDP for the chip, and it's like up to 50 to 60 watts or something. And I'm like, Lunar Lake doesn't use that much power.
no, it doesn't.
So who's fibbing here? What's going on? Now it is going to have 12 Celestial XE cores, so probably 50% more GPU performance, which was already stellar on Lunar Lake. But still, if my battery drains twice as quick, I'm not cool with that. I'm chilling on the 17 mobile watts of Lunar Lake. I don't want to jump up to 30, 50 watts while mobile at all. I'm not interested in that. Sorry. You know?
And it worries me too. It's like, okay, you know that behind closed doors they had to have tested an 18A version of Lunar Lake versus TSMC N3. My question is, how bad was that 18A version where it wasn't economical for them to switch over to that? You mean to tell me that,
It
like,
wasn't that it
you
was
guys
bad. It was that their
were not
margins
bad?
are hurt because they have to include the memory. Okay, let me explain.
Okay.
Let me explain to you how this works. I think this is how it works. So Intel makes a chip. They make this chip from, well, like not from scratch because they bought it from TSMC, but they make a chip. They have a cost. The chip costs $300. They put 50% margin, let's say, on it, and now they sell it for $450. Well, if they add memory on top of there, let's say the memory costs them $50. They can't add another 40% or 50% margin on top of the memory. They just have to add the memory and sell that at cost of what it costs to the AIB. And since they do that, their total margin shrinks. Let's say 350, you add a 150 to that. Well, that 150 is no longer 50%. It's more like 40 something percent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm
That's
following.
from what Pat Gelsinger explained. That's what I understood. So they have to sell that memory at cost for their AIBs, but that lowers their gross margin. So investors see that and they're like, I hate that. And that's why they're moving away. And that just means they're a bunch of scared little whatever, like they should have just done it because that's the future, man. Like that
Yeah, man.
unpackaged memory, it sips power. It's power. I know you can't upgrade it, but for the low power segment, they need that, dude.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake. And he also said, I didn't hear what you had said about that, but I remember him saying the reason that they were moving away from memory was because they didn't want to be the ones telling their vendors, like controlling that on the vendor side.
I
Like
heard that
from
their
them.
vendors hated that Lunar Lake came standard with 16 gigs because they wanted the to sell it with like base or like not even 16, but like the fast memory because they have to pay for that like high end memory. From what I understand, like OEMs and AIBs love to sell laptops with like garbage memory, like base spec like 5600, like 16 gigs or 8 gigs because some consumers don't see it. Like you might sell like 32 gigs, but like 5200 megahertz. Well, all Lunar Lake laptops come with 5333 megatransfers a second. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but a customer will see 32 gigs and they don't really care about the memory speed. They don't think about that. So it kind of hurt OEM's margins a little bit, having to
That's a
pay
good
for
point.
that high end memory. I mean, think about it: 32 gigs of that speed memory with every
It's
chip, or
fast.
16 gigs. Like, and customers don't see that as valuable as it is because they don't understand on an APU how important that is.
That's a good point. No, that's a good point. It was about time anyway, though. They've been skimping out for years
I'm so
on
glad I
memory.
got it, dude. I love using it. It's
That's about
awesome.
time.
They came out with a
When
driver update that increased the battery life, and I'm liking it. Now, one of the main problems I have with it is Windows rolls back my driver to like the January driver. Like every time I update, it's retarded. I don't know how to fix it. Uh, I don't know how to fix it. I did it on Reddit. I asked somebody on Reddit, and they said, "Bro, just don't hit the clean execution when you download your drivers." So I did that, and it still doesn't work. So someone in the comments let me know how to fix that. But yeah, what were we talking about? Yeah, we're talking about Nova Lake. I think as
is it dead
far
on
as
arrival?
I think, I don't think Nova Lake's dead on arrival. I think Intel's reputation is dead on arrival. But it hasn't changed. Like everyone hates Intel. Everyone's going to continue to hate Intel. If this next socket, I think it's LGA 1951 or something like that, is a banger, which it will be if it has 52 cores for workstation. I'm not sure about single core. Apparently it's going to have 3D cache now because Intel just bought up a lot of TSMC's capacity for that, or they're developing their own sort of packaging to do 3D cache. It may have that. This is what I want you to do, Intel. I was thinking about this today. I want you to come out with your next chip, and this may not be Nova Lake. This might have to be a couple years in the future. You have a compute die. It has 8 cores that are just giga. These cores are bigger than usual. They're just awesome. They're very low latency, very high clock speed. I'm talking 6+ gigahertz. And the memory controller is on this same tile. So your access to memory is right beside your P cores. Okay? This is on the most advanced node. This is on Intel 18A, Intel 14A, whatever. Your IO tile, I understand that it doesn't scale with higher end nodes, so you're probably going to have to build that on 5 nanometer, whatever. Put that right beside this compute die. Now, everything else, or no, now I also want you to come out with E-core dies. These can be separate. Think of these as multi-core accelerators. These do not have to be low latency. Multi-core workloads are not low latency. They take time anyways, right? But your P cores need to be right there. They need to be very low latency, right by the memory controller. Your E-core dies are built on, the high-end node, or maybe even, like a lower end, maybe TSMC 4 nanometer, Intel 3, and give us 8 E-cores a die and just stack it. Give us like 4 dies of 8 E-cores. That's 32 E-cores. Like just boom, 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 boom. Think about how you could scale that up like how Zen does. And then if you want, you could say the Ultra 9 has like 50 cores, like, the 8 P cores, and then all these E core clusters. And there's also an Ultra 9 that's gaming focused. It only has 8 P cores, but it has 3D cache on those P cores. You're welcome, Intel. You're welcome.
Hey, throw them a few extra shares to those ideas.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get my investment back. But I think that's a really good idea because you have the scalability with the multi-core performance, just plot more E-cores around. Make sure they have enough bandwidth. That's the one thing. If you're going to add these dies, make sure they're properly fed. They can have a lot of latency, but make sure they have enough bandwidth. I'm not going to say that twice. Just do that. And then, everything else, just make sure it has enough bandwidth to the IO tile, but it can have higher latency. Just make sure those P cores are right beside the memory controller on the same die and right beside the IO controller. And that can be on a different die. And I think you got a killer product there that you can scale up because you can use those E-cores in mobile, like the E-core chip, E-core tile.
That's true.
You can use them in your data center, whatever. Even if you want to make like a 32 core E-core chiplet, whatever. I don't know how big it'd have to be. E-cores are really small. Like one E-core is smaller, or 4 E-cores is about the size of one P-core now. So that's my thoughts on that. I think that's how you make a just an amazing chip. I want to see somebody do something like that. Have your P cores and your accelerator like multi-core E-cores on different die. I know that's kind of tough because they'd have to have different cache, but I think that's the way to go. I really do. No engineer, but
Well, we know that it's a good idea because they'll probably never do it. So sad.
Yeah.
What they need to focus on right now, they've got to buckle down and really, I don't want to say simplify their product portfolio, but really get a focus on what they're doing, because right now Intel seems so aimless.
Yeah.
I was at the Lake press briefing, and it just felt like they're floundering, like they they're struggling. And this, I don't want to say scary thing, but like they, from both sides, from AMD and CPUs, and now they're getting kicked around by Qualcomm in like the lower end, not well lower end, but like the
Dude, I don't think Qualcomm has anything on Intel, dude. Did you see that their laptops are being returned in mass number? Like, no one wants that. No one wants the Qualcomm laptops, bro.
I saw that story. A lot of press ran with it. I'm gonna be honest. This is kind of a contrarian take. I don't think that
on Amazon it literally says frequently returned item under their laptop.
I see that, but that's not stopping OEMs and things from buying up Qualcomm designs and shipping new designs. Like, we have new designs coming out all the time for Qualcomm. And
I'm not for Qualcomm, I'm for ARM, and I just think that Windows and Qualcomm and the whole ARM thing isn't working out yet. But I think I see the potential. I think ARM is like it for mobile. I really do.
I agree, but
they're just gonna have to try harder, a lot harder.
They're, believe it or not, they're happy with Qualcomm and Snapdragon on ARM. Yeah, like the vendors, customers, maybe, but vendors are like I said. I asked Asus, like, hey, yeah, our Snapdragon stuff actually like does well. Spoke to not Dell. I keep getting HP. HP? No, HP. Dell HP. I think it was Dell. Spoke to Dell, and same thing the rep said, right? And there's not like a Qualcomm guy hiding around the corner listening to see if they say anything positive. Like, no, they were just like straight up candid. Like, yeah, we're actually happy with how Snapdragon's performed. So that should be, if I was Intel, that would be concerning to me, because I think there's a kind of a disconnect between what the OEMs think and what we think, because we can say one thing, but they're the ones that keep buying up chips and designs from Qualcomm.
Yeah,
they keep buying new ones, like the X Elite, X Plus, the new X chips. Like, they're happy with the margins, they're buying them. So Qualcomm's doing something right if companies keep buying chips from them to make ARM laptops.
Yeah.
And that, like, I remember when that thing was being returned, but that notice was gone in like a day. That wasn't reported on. It wasn't there for like a month or a couple weeks. It was there for a day and then it was gone. Okay. So people like Snapdragon laptops.
Who are these people? I got to meet up. But they definitely aren't gamers. They're just probably people that do work, I guess, like people that just write.
Yeah, because people
that want a MacBook experience on Windows. Basically.
Yeah, anything in a browser is good for. Like I said, you got to Google Docs, anything like that.
But why not just get Lunar Lake though? It lasts. The battery's the same, and the compatibility. Well, it has more CPU performance. Snapdragon does. That's like the one thing.
It's marketing, right? You don't look. It's marketing. You tell somebody. You look at the marketing for a Snapdragon laptop. What is it? Great battery life. You close it, you don't lose performance when it's unplugged, which is true. I've tested that. It actually is true. Like, they are marketing its hard, its strengths. What do you hear about Intel's Lunar Lake? How do they market that? They don't.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, that's true.
Qualcomm's running bus ads for Snapdragon. Like,
really?
I've seen ads on the local bus stop about Windows on ARM PCs. What is Intel doing for Lunar Lake? How are you going to convince grandma or Uncle Joe to go down to Best Buy and buy a Lunar Lake laptop? They don't. It's not even called Lunar Lake. We call it that because the code name. It's called Intel 288V.
Yeah,
for like one of the higher end.
Yeah, the naming scheme is not it for that. I gotta say this. I agree with a lot what you said. I think as far as Intel's client or consumer and client, like, just their design team is cooked. Like them making CPUs, their architects. Right now, it's cooked. I think it can change. The reason that I'm optimistic in their company is because their foundry business. That's where I'm like, bro, this has got a lot of potential, man. Like a whole lot of potential to just print. Um, and as far as like, I think once their foundry lines up, their design is going to they're going to be a lot more competitive in that area. But I agree, they're kind of aimless right now. They really need to find out why they're making the chips they're making. I loved Lunar Lake. I think they should have dug deeper with that instead of abandoning it, like you said.
I do.
And then
I
they need to make their desktop CPUs distinct from their laptop ones. Like Arrow Lake's like a laptop CPU. It was built like with power efficiency in mind. They need to make Nova Lake, how I said, with like the P cores on the memory controller, and then everything else can be separate. But yeah, I agree. And then seeing what Zen 6 is going to look like with it being on a silicon interposer, yeah, on the same motherboard, it's going to be tough for them, bro. It's going to be really tough.
They got a fight on their hands. They got to fight.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
More power to them. More power to them.
Well, I think that was about all we had. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, I think that was it. I mean, even got to touch on Qualcomm briefly, which was surprising for me. Like I said,
Yeah.
if you just listen to Tech Media, you would think like Qualcomm is just doing awful, down bad, like the worst company. And don't get me wrong, they have fumbled. Them and Microsoft have fumbled this Windows on ARM rollout. Like,
Well, bro,
I have
also,
a lot of
dude,
plans.
Apple's been competitive with Mac prices recently. I have a feeling that they just like shipped way too much of those over before they thought tariffs were going to hit. And then they all got here and tariffs were canceled. And they're like, wait, what? Because they're selling this M4 for $850, the 16 gig version. I got my brother to buy one. Yeah, it's been at $850 for a long time, bro. I got my brother to buy one for 16 gigs. It totally destroys Qualcomm and Intel for the price. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
just,
no competition.
but bad thing is it's got 256 gig SSD. But you know, if you are just writing and stuff, that's fine. You can always use external storage if you're doing other things. But yeah, they're totally dominating that arena. I don't regret getting Lunar Lake. I had 32 gigs and I need it for video editing, and I like gaming on it from time to time when I'm out and about. But that is definitely tempting, you know. Apple ain't playing around, and the way I see it is either you're ARM on Apple or you're x86 on Windows, and I wouldn't want to be ARM on Windows personally at this moment. I know it's getting better, but just not for me. Not for me.
Yeah, it's rough.
So yeah, we talked about the 4060. We talked about, the recession of PC hardware. Also, we talked about memory speeds and LP Camm2, cudimm. And yeah, then we talked about Intel and how it's going, to get cooked. So pretty good SFAB, I think. How long have we been recording? For a while, I think. It's almost 11. 11 p.m. Well, it was nice having you on, dude. We got to do this at least once a month. We got to get on it. Maybe twice a month.
Yeah, we do.
It's been my fault. It's been my fault. I've been busy. But
I don't know what happens, man. But I think SFAB has potential to be one of the premier PC hardware focused podcasts.
There's not enough of them out there, for sure.
There really isn't. Like I'm tired of Moore's laws or broken silicon.
Dude, I am too. I stopped listening to it for a while because I don't know. I haven't listened to it in like a couple months since like our last episode. But just because the AMD fanboyism just gets me, bro. Like it gets me so hard on that podcast. Everything he talks about is just trying to spin that. Well, NVIDIA's doing this. It's like, well, AMD's doing this, but like a lot better. It's like, bro, we didn't even talk about that. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. That's just how I see it. Also, like
we're gonna catch him.
That man is just too prideful, man. He's just too prideful. He just gotta admit when he's wrong sometimes. Like, just say, "Yeah, I messed up on that one."
Take your lumps. Take your medicine. It's okay. At this point in your career, it's fine. Like, Even if you
Yeah.
came out and said that you're
Respect though.
wrong,
I
you'd
watch his
still
videos a lot still, but Broken Silicon, I took a break for a little bit.
yeah, I think I the last it had been months for me, and then I saw part of the one recently with Window. I love Window so much, so I gotta watch.
Windows awesome, bro.
I gotta watch the content he's in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I watched a little bit of that. But SFAB, I'm telling you, SFAB, I think we could be up there with Broken Silicon after a
Yeah.
while.
Oh, and
Just gotta.
also, if you guys have made it this far in this podcast, thank you. And drop a comment. Any questions you have you want us to talk about next time, please drop that and we will talk about it if we like what you dropped. If it's intriguing enough, we will talk about it. So who knows? This video might not have any comments. This is going to go on the SFAB channel, which has like 30 subscribers or something. But I'm going to push this on my channel and make sure people know about it. And
I will
yeah,
as well.
for sure. Until next time, Silicon Steak and the
Silicon Fox.
signing out.